Sunday morning live stream. Getting set up here. Appreciate you joining. This is Hunnitap. It's one of my original songs called Circular Ambulation. Hope you like it. All my music's available on the channel and all major music platforms. Change the station. Circular ambulation. Don't forget to change the station. Play this song on this new guitar I've got behind me. Couldn't resist grabbing the guitar. Could not resist it. Why should you resist it? Put a little of this on it. This is about a $200 jet guitar. Man, I love some jets. In fact, I'm trying to resist buying another jet, which I will be unsuccessful in resisting because I love them. The necks on these things are incredible. Okay, so today we are off to a great start. It is Sunday morning. I'd like to remind you, well, first of all, thank you for those that are on already, and thank you for those who will watch this after the fact. I will be unboxing a kit guitar. I've been wanting a kit guitar for a long time, and I finally pulled the trigger. I found one made by BexGears, which is some company somewhere, I don't know. You can find it on Amazon. I'll try to put a link in there, but really, if you want to support this channel, the best way to support it is to leave comments, for sure, and subscribe. Also, check out all my original music, which I make with all the gear I show here. You can tell I got a collection of guitars behind me. All these things are merely paintbrushes in the can of artistic possibility for me. And I am primarily a songwriter, I would claim, a guitarist, and I love connecting with the community. And I'd like to remind the community of a couple things. First, you are not alone. Second, Jesus loves you. Third, you can find a place right here in the Hunnitap universe. And I'm happy to have you. So welcome aboard. We're going to look at this BexGears kit guitar. It's a Strat-style guitar, sort of kind of similar to this sort of guitar, which is a classic Stratocaster 3 single coil pickup, right from something like what Leo Fender would have envisioned, bolt-on neck. But this has got some notable upgrades. It's got a maple, roasted maple neck. Whoa, now it's got a new dent in it. And that's the thing, like, who cares? If it gets a dent in it. Not me. Not too much, and not when it's fairly inexpensive. This thing plays like a dream. Now, I'm wondering what this kit guitar is going to play like. I have no idea, and I'm going to make some additional videos where I put it together. I might even live stream putting it together. If you have ideas about how you might like to see this all go together, maybe you thought about buying a kit guitar, maybe you have bought a kit guitar and had either tremendous success or something else, please tell us about it in the comments, because that, I think, will probably help a lot of people. My general plan with this guitar, which we're about to unbox, now I've already opened it and looked in it, so it's not like it's, you know, I'm going to be cutting the tape. I've done that, and I've looked at it, I've taken the parts out, but I'm going to do this unboxing to show you how it came. I haven't changed anything other than just generally taking a look at it, and I put the neck in the pocket and tried to see if it would all fit together. And it did. It did. Maybe just a slightly not super snug fit, but enough. You know, it fit in there just fine. And it got tremendously good reviews on Amazon, which, let's adjust this just a little bit, which is what encouraged me to get it. Now, the thing cost about $90 shipped. It actually said $70, I think, on the price. And then when I put it in the cart, it had about a $20, $25 shipping fee, and it showed up as promised, and I think in pretty good shape. So we're going to take a look at it. But my general plan is to put it together as is, like not to paint it, not to sand it, not to change anything on it necessarily, but I just want to put it together and make sure it works and see if I've got any disastrous situation that I can't necessarily handle, you know, meaning, wow, the neck is crazy bent or whatever. And I'll see if I can work through any issues. I'm not a guitar luthier technician. I'm just some dude who bought a kit guitar and gonna give it a go. So I'm excited about it. I heard some experiences from other YouTube creators that I really like where they had bought kit guitars and they turned out really well. So that's my plan. Now, once I get it together and it's at just a minimum viable product, then I will take it apart. And at that point, I will decide what I'm going to do in terms of painting it or finishing it. I'm thinking maybe I'll stain it, like do a stain or some sort of thing. And yeah, we'll see. As you'll see, the wood grain looks actually pretty good. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I'm into it. I'm into it. Why not? What's the alternative? Not be into it? Get excited about life. Make it count. And I've got my cold brew. Off to a fantastic start today in so many categories. Really are. I did a little bit of playing this morning, a little bit of practicing. I'm taking lessons with the great Lester Mitchell now on music theory, and that is really turbocharging my guitar experience. Specifically because one thing I'll tell you about me is that everything I do in guitar was learned completely by ear and by basically winging it, and just like any scales I do, maybe I found some patterns online and I would just kind of copy them and then figure out where they fit. And I I would learn cover songs by like Eddie Van Halen and Led Zeppelin as a kid and Jimi Hendrix, and like, so I pieced things together over the years, but I couldn't really tell you anything beyond that. Like, I didn't know the vocabulary or the music theory or anything. And now I'm actually diving into it. And it's interesting to see like some of these patterns that I'd put together in my mind and then learned how to play on guitars. Lester will tell me, oh, that's a E minor, or that's a Dorian scale, or look, hey, you did the flat fifth there, and that kind of thing. It's so interesting to me to discover more and more about music every day. And that's something I learn about music, is there's always something more to discover, always something more to learn, which is one of the things that really draws me to it. And the other thing that draws me to it is this general sense of community, which is everywhere I look in the YouTube community, especially in the guitar community. I found some really, really cool channels. Yeah, I'll probably promote some of those. Now, I think I'm going to be doing some more live streams where I bring others in and do a little bit of back and forth. I even thought maybe it'd be interesting to do some call-in stuff. That's fairly risky, I suppose, because you never know what you're going to get. But certainly been enjoying using Google Meet. I didn't realize that you could play with other musicians over Google Meet, and it's like playing with them in the same room almost. I mean, it's just incredible what you can do there. So probably some of that too, some online jam sessions. So yeah, now in terms of equipment here, if you're curious, this is what they call a pod mic. Yeah, if you can see. Pod mic. Now, I'm not sponsored by any of this stuff, but it works pretty well. I got this wind guard on it so that you don't get the percussive sounds when I'm talking into it. But it works pretty darn well, and I run this into a Zoom L8 mixer. The guitar sounds that you heard are coming out of a Spark Mini, so none of this stuff is super expensive, and it's all very, very simple. Now, I love me some Spark Mini. That's for sure. I also got a little Spark Go. Now, I come from a background where I had a Laney 100-watt tube amp, and I've had giant Marshall amplifiers, and that was kind of my thing for a long time. But quite honestly, that's not my application now. There are few things I would like to do less than go play in a bar, cover songs. I just have zero desire to do that. And what I want to do even less than that is lug amplifiers or have to haul in drum sets and set all that stuff up. And it's not where I'm at. I want to make original music. I want to play the music that I want to play, where I want to play it, in beautiful places. And I also plan on doing a lot more of that. So stay tuned. I hope you will subscribe. Hope you will hit that like button and come back for more as I expand the Hunnitap universe. Now, I used to be known as Jedi Jingle Maker. However, as a caterpillar emerges as a butterfly, such is the journey from Jedi Jingle Maker to Hunnitap. It is a one-way trip to something far better. Now, I started off this channel and my reemergence of the love of guitar roughly 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Something, I don't know, who can count, but I took a fairly long break to do many other things, raise my family. I got very into surfing, a lot of things like that. And then I reconnected with guitar. And I found out when I came back, because I was playing in the 80s as a kid, and now I'm in my 50s, and I came back, that the whole guitar universe had expanded in incredible ways. And I was like fresh and new, and gear was way less expensive and super accessible. And there were places like Sweetwater and Guitar Center that just had crazy possibilities everywhere you look. So I plugged into that. And here we are on this live stream. So let's get into it. Now I'm just going to check a couple of things before we get too far into it, just to make sure that we are up and running successfully. I want to look at the live stream thing here, and it says privacy, public. Okay, good. All right, so it looks like we're online. But if you jump on, if you could leave me a comment, that way I'll know you can hear me and things are coming through loud and clear. But I did a test before I jump on. Now I do that because a couple of times I tried this and I realized, oh, the volume wasn't up, but I can see in OBS Studio that the volume level's coming through, and I can see that you could probably see me. So let's get into unboxing it. Again, if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for joining me. If you are already friend of the channel, member of the community, thank you for that. I love that so much, and I'm so appreciative of it. All right, let's get to it. Now, it might be a little problematic with this. Oh, gee whiz. I'm wrapped around the cord. All right, hold on. I'm going to get unwrapped first so that I can move about just a bit. This won't be a super long live stream because I do plan to go out and throw the football with my boy. But I'm going to enjoy this first. All right, so I'm going to unwrap my headphones so I don't get hog-tied by this thing. Okay, I think I'm untied. I think I've released myself from that scenario. Now I have another camera that I could turn on, but I think this will be probably good enough. I might have to turn up the volume just a bit so you can hear me, but I'm using this widescreen perspective as opposed to the narrow screen so that you can see it. Now here's the box. Not that big of a box, and I was happy that the box didn't weigh a lot when I initially picked it up, because I really don't want a heavy guitar. I've got plenty of heavy guitars, not looking for more. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the basic idea. It comes with these 3 boxes inside it, and we're just going to look in each one. All right, I'm going to put it on the floor so it's out of the way. Box number 1 is this thing. It comes with the neck wrapped in this kind of foam bag type of thing, which you're probably familiar with. A rubber band, but I've unwrapped this already. Here's the neck. It almost has a Schecter style headstock on it, but it's a little bit bigger than a Schecter. It comes down a little bit lower. One of the mods I think I'll do on this is, after looking at it, I do like the shape of this as it is, but it's just a little bit too fat on this side for whatever that's worth. It's all just personal preference, obviously, but real nice and really nicely finished. Like the back of the neck feels good. It feels like it has some sort of very light finish on it. I don't know how much more I'll do there, but I might stain it or do something. One thing I noticed is that it comes with the holes pre-drilled. I was a little worried about that. I didn't want to have to do any of that stuff and worry about getting it right. For some reason it says 489 here. I guess this is the close to 500th neck or something that they made, but the feel of it feels good. It's It's like a rounded C kind of feel. It's not too chunky. It's kind of just where I like it. Now, the other thing is I look down the frets, and it really does look very, very nicely done. Like, I don't see any high frets, and it's hard to tell by looking down the neck, but after looking down a lot of guitar necks, you can kind of get the idea. Now, I haven't put a fret rocker on it to see what's going on there, but you really don't know until you put some strings on it and tension anyway. But so far, so good. Now, with the feeling of the frets, I can feel the edge of the frets are a little bit rough, which is fine by me because I do have some fret files, so I can make those nice and round. The edge of the fretboard is not rounded, which I wouldn't expect it, but I know how to do that. That's a very easy process of kind of rounding off the edges. That just gives it a real nice feel. So although it's got some, I wouldn't say sharp, but it's not super smooth on the edge, but what do you expect for $90? It's definitely a good starting place, and I do like the feel of it quite a bit. And I think this is a plastic nut. That might be something I would upgrade as well, which is to put in a bone nut or a graphite nut in here. That would be fun. The fretboard itself they call it composite ebony. I don't know what that means. I think it means it's not real ebony, obviously, but it looks great. I mean, it's nice and dark, and it has like a wood grain. It's probably sort of hard to see here, but it has a wood grain-like quality to it. Yeah, so I think I'm going to have my buddy who's, got tools, woodworking tools, my woodworking buddy, that come in and make it a little bit less wide in this part, but otherwise really like it. And you can see that, hopefully you can see it, the grain on the headstock is really cool the way it runs up. Now at the back of the neck, it actually has a little bit of sort of some flaming in it, which is interesting. Across here and across here, you might be able to see in the light. Got the window open, so hopefully you can see some of this. But yeah, overall, pretty darn nice. Happy with the neck. That was my first concern. Is it going to be a piece of junk in the neck? Because for me, the guitar is 90% neck. That's what you're interacting with. As long as it lines up with the body, you can typically, it's all about your experiences on the neck. So yeah, I give it nice initial scores for sure on the neck. Now I have already fit the neck into the pocket, like I said, to see how it fits, and it does fit. It fits well, in my opinion. Okay, now the next big thing we'll look at is the body. Comes nicely packaged in a similar sort of box. Here it is. Very light, very light. But it doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel too light. It's kind of like the nice middle ground. I haven't put it on a scale, but I'd guess the whole guitar weighs something like 7.5 pounds. I mean, really nice. All right, so here's what the body looks like. Isn't that a pretty grain on it? And one of the things I was looking for is any kind of filler or defects or dents or whatever. And I don't see any. I mean, and by the way, it has a smell. It has that new guitar smell. Hey, Steve Cassidy Guitar. Great to see you on, man. Love your channel, brother. Love it. Yeah, makes me wish I had a personality as good as yours. I'll have to work on it. Yeah, I've often with the YouTube thing thought like, the key to having a YouTube channel that is successful is really having a good personality, and I'm not sure I'm up to the challenge, but we're going to try. I'm just going to give you exactly who I am, and we'll see how that all works out. But yeah, so super cool. And here's another thing. I mean, there's a million things I could talk about with this body itself. And Steve, by the way, let me know. Can you hear me? Is the volume good? Give me if you can, a comms check, just so I make sure I'm not out of the zone. but I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that it is routed as HSS. So humbucker, single humbucker. Yes, sir. In other words, if I want to, I could fit a humbucker in here, I think, in both positions. Now, I don't know if I'll do that, but if I want to, I might. And this will be something I will have zero. Sounds good. It looks good. Okay, good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear it. So I might get another pick guard to put on here and try a humbucker, or maybe do like a humbucker single, or who knows what. But since this is all just up to me to do whatever I want to do with it, all that is on the table. Get some funky pick guard. Now, in terms of the holes, one thing I thought about, like the drilled holes on the body, one thing I thought about was, are there going to be any places I need to drill holes? And what I found was, no, there is no place I need to drill holes. They've got holes here for the pick guard. They've got holes for putting on the 6-point trim. And we're going to look at the hardware next so we can get a picture of that. Yeah, there are holes for the jack plate where the jack goes. So, and there are holes drilled for the neck. And they did seem like they lined up with the holes on the neck itself. But when I get into the actual construction of this beast, I'll be able to tell you more. I watched the Bald Shredder. He's got a great channel too. And he built a kick guitar recently. And I noticed that he had placed a fixed bridge over this. That's another option I might explore. But I don't know. I don't mind the 6-point classic style trim. I just don't use it. I just make it so that the trim claw on the back tightens all the way up and put in as many springs as I need to basically lock it down. I know you can do other things like put a piece of wood behind it and kind of deck it more officially, but I've never had a problem with it really moving if you take that trim claw and just pin it, and then you use a bunch of springs. It seems like that makes it rock solid. So I'll probably just do that, but I thought about maybe putting a fixed bridge on it. I'm a little superstitious about that with a Strat because I do think there's some logic to the idea that if you have the trim on there with the big, and you get a bigger block, that's another thing I'll do is probably, spoiler alert, when we look at it, you'll see it's got a really tiny trim block on it. I might get a bigger block, but again, half the fun of this, more than half the fun of this is going to be just experimenting around with stuff. But I think it helps with the tone of these guitars, honestly, to get that classic tone, and that's really most likely what I'm going for. But I'm going to just try to give you a real close look at the finish. It looks like it is, I haven't checked this yet, but I'm trying to see how many pieces of wood we've got here. It looks like definitely one down here, one here. So likely it's 3 pieces of wood. Definitely need a little bit more sanding, but really it just feels fantastic. The shape of it, the way it's rounded off. I'm not disappointed whatsoever in what I've got here to start with. And you can see the routes are pretty nice. I mean, especially on the back here. They didn't just speed do it and just throw it in the box, as far as I can tell. They've really, I just saw my son go by the window outside. They did a nice job with the routes. And on this side, it's a little more rough, but not by much. And really like the grain. You can see this one spot here's a little darker. I was a little concerned maybe that was, they'd put filler. I watched one other video where there was some filler on one part of the guitar, but I don't see anything like that. I just really, really like this. There, you can see the 3 pieces of wood more clearly when I hold it that way, but it's got the contour on the front. It's got the belly cut on the back. Can't go wrong, in my opinion, with this for the money that I spent on it. And they had several varieties of this. The BexGears kit guitars had several, but like I said, this one really got a lot of reviews. And there are a lot of kit guitars, and it had hundreds of reviews. Okay, so there's the body. I'm going to try to put it back in the box so I don't dent it. Just going to take my time. There you go. All right, safe and sound. Okay, now let's look at the box of electronics and other stuffs. Here we have it. Nice little box. I haven't fiddled around with this too much. Let's see what they've got in it. I'll show you just the peering into the box itself. So it comes with this box, which contains the tuning keys and so on, and then it has a bunch of other stuff, which is like the pickguard. So we'll just step through and look at each part. I'm gonna lay this other one back in there. Okay, let's take a look at what we got. Well, first of all, it comes with a cable. This is actually a little nicer. Sometimes I'll buy those cheap Firefly guitars and they come with something like this. This one's actually a little bit more substantial, and it's interesting to me that it came with the one L jack and then the one straight in jack, but I suppose you can't have enough cheap guitar cables. And then the pickguard. It's just standard white pickguard. Now they could have just gone with a single ply pickguard, but what I noticed is they went with a 3-ply pickguard, which really is super cool, in my opinion. A couple things fell out, but it's already all hooked up into the pickguard, which is interesting. I don't expect these pickups to sound that great, but I've actually got a Jet guitar, and Steve Cassidy will be with me on this one. I think we're both Jet fanatics. I think I could safely say that. I love them. But yeah, so the 3-ply pickguard already has the pickups in it, but I am going to be taking the pickups out of one of my Jet guitars, which actually came with with ceramic pickups, the Jet 300, which is their least expensive Strat-style guitar. And those pickups sound fantastic. And the only reason I'm taking the pickups out is I ended up getting 2 of these Jet guitars because the first one I got I loved so much, I'm immediately getting another one. And for the purpose of modifications. But I decided I wanted to keep one with the original pickups in them. Even though they're ceramic pickups, they have that killer Strat jangly sound to them. So the one that I upgrade to Fender vintage noiseless pickups, I've got the pickups back in the cabinet there that I'm going to do on that project. I'll probably replace these. And you could tell these are the ceramic style pickups as well. I don't expect them to be awesome, but who knows? They might sound great. We'll see. But it is all wired up. They have the small pots, you can see. Those, sometimes they call them import pots, but in terms of the wiring itself, the soldering, another very impressive part of this that I noticed right away, which is, you can see the bag was stuck to the magnets of all the little screws for the pickguard. And I'll just say there's probably enough, but I've got extras of those. But the soldering looked good. Sometimes you'll get like cold solders. I've gotten these Fireflies where they are not soldered well, or sloppy solders, or when you put it together, there's problems, and that's because it was a cold solder joint. Okay, hey Steve, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, man. Great to chat with you here briefly. But I'm gonna hold it up just a little closer so you can see, hopefully, the quality of those solders. It looks like a nice, bright solder. Now, which I always think if it's, it's just not sloppy. Looks like they got the solder hot enough and made nice, solid connections. So that was excellent. This 5-way switch, the other thing you can do is, kind of get a feel for the electronics when you feel enough. It feels solid. I mean, it doesn't feel janky or cheap. It has a nice, solid click to it, which is kind of interesting. Now, this is not the old school style 5-way switch. I don't really know enough to know the difference, but it's not the kind that I would see, for instance, in Fender Stratocaster. But pretty stoked. And the other thing is that I like is that it's got the plug, so you just plug it in. The jack itself just plugs in, so there's really zero soldering that's required. Now, as I test the feel of the knobs, they feel solid. They don't feel like super loose or super, hard to turn. They're nice feeling. to them. I would say they feel quality, as odd as that sounds. They really do. And they've even gone the extra mile of putting in this shielding around some of the components. So that's another interesting thing. If I keep the pickups in here, I'll likely shield the cavity and ground it and so on, just to try to reduce the 60 cycle hum. But pickguard, impressive for sure. I could see going with a different color pickguard on this thing, especially if I end up going with a wood color. Now they give you a Allen wrench. This is my 10,528th Allen wrench. If you play guitar, you have a bunch of guitars, you know, you get all these Allen wrenches, and even then I have a hard time locating when I need them, so I'm happy to have it. I said we got the screws for the pickguard, and then they even gave strings. Now, these are probably not the world's greatest strings, right? Because, you know, how could they be? However, they are strings, meaning when I put this thing together initially, I can use these strings to put tension on the neck and figure out if it works okay. And then when I just cut them off, take them off, no problem, and I can replace them with strings I really like. I typically get the super slinkies, you know, the classic super slinky strings, which are real easy to get. And I'll probably use those, but I will likely put locking tuners on it as well, just because I like the locking tuners for a few reasons. Mostly because they're just easy to change strings on. And nothing makes the guitar sound better right away than a fresh set of good strings. All right, so let's see what this little miniature box inside the box came with. Well, first of all, it came with the tuning keys, which, you know, first impressions are they look pretty good. I'll open one up here and we'll see if you know, what they feel like. And you know, I do notice right away a little bit of play here. I don't know if that's good or bad. The turning of the mechanism feels pretty good, but yeah, this alarms me. But you know, of course there's going to be something that's wrong. I don't know if that's a problem, but my guess is it could be. Again, this one, same kind of thing. Loose here. That one you can feel a little bit of, well, no, it's not too bad. Okay, well, who knows? But I'm not counting on these. I'm not going to end up using these anyway. They'll just be for the purpose of testing them out, and then I'll probably chuck them if they've got any problems, or I find anything about them I don't like, but I don't intend on keeping them anyway. You know, when you're modifying guitars, you end up getting so much equipment, and it's just like hoarding junk. In my opinion, it's better to just toss them in the can if you're not going to use them. Got the jack here, which is you know, standard kind of jack you would expect. I don't see anything special about it. I could replace that with like a Switchcraft or a higher quality jack for sure, but you can see that it's got the plug that plugs into that other side. Oops, there you go. Yeah, it's got the plug on it. I got to make sure you can see this stuff. Sorry, I probably should have angled it down. But yeah, so nice little plug, easy. Got the two screws in there. Just checking for the details. Here's the plate for the back of the neck. Interesting that they've got that little black guard here. Some people don't use that. I'll use it for sure. I sort of like that. And it's got the 4 neck bolts, which seem like they're of reasonable length, I suppose, and don't look cheap to me. We will see. And then we have this, which are the strap buttons. And interesting little thing here is that they come with the washers. If you can see that little felt washers, which is a nice touch. And you start to get I start to get the impression that they paid attention to details. The 3-ply pick guard, the washers, the little plastic thing for the plate, the slightly higher quality cable. Not bad. And the strap buttons themselves they're wide, which I like, which reduces the risk maybe of it falling down as you play the thing. So pretty happy with that. Now, here are some string trees. These are the bent metal classic style string trees, if you can see that you might see on a vintage Strat. I don't like these, but they're on lots of guitars, so it's not a bad thing necessarily. But this is another opportunity to change it. I'll probably have a lot of fun changing all that stuff. I'm already having fun right now. Now, this is the back of the trem cavity, or some people call it a vibrato cavity, to be more precise. Interesting thing is Leo Fender himself called the whammy bar, the wiggle stick, whatever you want to call it, he called it a tremolo, even though it is technically a vibrato. And he had an amplifier which he called the setting that is the tremolo setting vibrato. So he kind of got it mixed up, but hey, it's Leo Fender, so who am I to argue? He was a incredible businessman and guitar salesman, creator, really responsible for driving so many innovations, even though he wasn't really a guitarist himself, which is kind of interesting, as opposed to, say, like Les Paul, who was a incredible virtuoso guitarist of his time and envisioned the what eventually became the Les Paul guitar and was a guitarist, but was, yeah, anyway, so I won't get too far off the beaten track. But one thing I notice here is, although it's the 3-ply on the pick guard, it is a 1-ply on this, but it's got beveled edges. It's not just a squared off, so another nice touch. I mean, here's the other thing. Who's looking at the back of the guitar anyway? But the fact that it has the beveled edge, to me, is angled edge is a really nice touch. And I counted the screws. There are enough screws. So winner, winner, chicken dinner. Okay, and then here is the trim claw. The trim arm, wiggle shtick. It's got the standard old school little plastic thing on the end, and it's a screw in, but again, I'm not going to use it, so it's a throwaway, honestly. And then the final piece is this little box. What is in this little box, you might be thinking? And that is, yes, of course, that is the tremolo itself. So let's take it out and see what we got here. Okay, yeah, an incredibly thin trem block, which is to be expected. But you can see it's able to be removed. It's got those screws there, which is nice. It's got a nice touch. They put a little bit of like thin cardboard there to insulate it from getting scratched up. I actually like these saddles. They're a little bit bigger. I don't like the bent steel saddles, even though that bent steel is the traditional Strat-style for sure. Another thing is you can feel the height adjustment screws slightly, but they're not rough. They're not too rough, and I really like that. Another nice touch. Yeah, I like this bridge. But yeah, this thing, I believe, who knows if it's true, my believies, that this makes a difference, the size of this in terms of the tone you get. You know, everything's about vibration, the vibration of the strings and how that translates to the pickup, but I believe how the guitar is, what it's made of, changes the vibration, therefore the vibration of the strings, which is, of course, the string vibration being measured by the magnets in the pickups is what produces the tone. So now in here they give you 3 screws, a nice trem claw, but the trem claw has a place for 6 springs. So we'll likely put another 2 springs on this just to tighten it down, and like I said, I'll take that trem claw and I'll pin it right up inside the cavity. Another little Allen wrench in here to adjust the height of the saddles, I can see. That's rather nice. And yeah, the correct number of screws. Let's see, 2 and then 2. Do I have enough screws here? Yeah, 2 for that. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. So, and enough screws for the 6 screws on the top of the trem, and then the 2 screws to put the claw in. So, looks like we got everything that we need, and that's it. That's everything that came in the box. Super happy initial impression. We'll see when we start putting it together. I hope you will stay tuned for that experience as we dive into the fun project of putting together the very first kit guitar. So thank you for watching. Thanks to Steve Cassidy for jumping on and leaving a whole bunch of comments. Very much appreciate it. If you're watching, when you're watching this after the stream itself, please leave a comment. That helps, and give me a sub. Again, I know I keep saying that, but that's really how you support the channel. I'll also leave a link to Amazon. If you click on that, that means if you purchase something there within a day or so using that link, that the channel gets a little kickback. It's an affiliate link, so you don't get charged more, but I get a little, like a, I don't know, 20 cents or something. Okay, so thank you. Have a great day. Play guitar as much as you can. Write music. And I hope you have a wonderful remainder of the day. Thanks for watching Hunnitap. See you at the next one.